Kate, let me ask you first about these measures that the Biden administration announced after it ended the Title 42 policy. I mean, initially it was rejected by a court, then another court said that it can stay in place for now. What happens next?
I think ultimately, like Laura said, this law will not stand as it makes its way through the courts because it is in violation of international asylum and refugee law, which has been on our books since 1980. It was passed by Congress, and in the definition, it says that it doesn't matter how someone got into the United States, but that they have to be here in order to apply for asylum. And so this policy that says that if you didn't, wait your turn with the CBP One app, it's in contradiction to a law that Congress has passed. In practice, it's really horrific. What happens is, as the other panelists have mentioned, a lot of these migrants and refugees, they're coming to the U.S. border. They are refugees in Mexico, and they are subjected to all sorts of violence while they await their turn. And right now, for the people who can figure out how to use the app, it takes at least 2 months for them to even get to the point where they might be processed. And I can tell you, as an immigration lawyer in Texas for 15 years, I've been through previous administrations. I've worked with thousands of asylum seekers, and we've had functioning systems in place pre-Title 42, pre-Trump, pre-COVID, where an asylum seeker could simply come to the border. They could walk across the bridge and they could say, I'm afraid of returning to my country. And they would be temporarily detained and put through a credible fear interview screening. And not everyone qualified. The people who didn't were sent home, but the people who did qualify were admitted and they would prepare for their final hearing. And that was a functional, mostly dignified, mostly orderly process that overall wasn't broken. But we tore apart that whole system, stopped asylum processing at the borders for 3 years, and now Biden's sort of sneaking us back, but it's not going to work until we get back to where we were.
Right, and Kate, there's one other case, and that is the Department of Justice is taking the state of Texas to court over a barrier that it's placed in the middle of the Rio Grande River to block migrants from crossing the river. In fact, one of the migrants was caught in the barrier, and the body of a child was recovered upstream. And we're looking at pictures of them crossing the river right now. I mean, how will that case play out in court?
Ultimately, Greg Abbott, the governor of Texas, is going to be found to be violating federal and international laws. He doesn't have the jurisdiction to go into the waters and place these buoys. There's obvious humanitarian concerns with his actions, but there's also major legal problems with what he's doing. And so he's spent over $10 billion of Texan taxpayer money in his Operation Lone Star, which has resulted in fewer than 1% of the apprehension. So it's been a failed result, even with all that money spent. And now he's doubling down and going into court, spending more Texan taxpayer money. And ultimately, he will not succeed. He doesn't have a strong legal position.